we could do to honor his legacy, his past health care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of that where it starts, and I have been disappointed at obviously the way the debate has kind of rolled out so far. I mean, I've seen a lot of things in politics, but I've never seen a debate where there's been as much misinformation, disinformation, and outright deceptions as this healthcare debate. I'm going to actually be meeting tomorrow with about 60 rabbis, priests, ministers, other religious leaders, because an issue that I've been involved in for a long time has been starting a conversation, a rational conversation about end-of-life issues and about the process of aging, and recognizing 70% of Americans have no advance directives, no kind of living wills, no sense. And when there was even the beginnings of this kind of issue being raised in the House, and this has been a bipartisan issue. Actually, many of the Republican senators, Johnny Isakson, Senator Judd Gregg, Susan Collins, others, have been leaders on this issue. And then to see the kind of outrageous, over-the-top descriptions that, trying to honor and respect people's choices has been morphed by some of these folks on the other side into claims of democratic despots is, beyond the pale. And we have to fight through all this misinformation. But, one area that I find on healthcare, and where I know Lowell and others continues to press, what are one of your touchstones? My touchstone on healthcare is, and where I wish we can't go back to the starting point, but we need to continue to make the case, not only of the need for healthcare, but the alternative of what happens if we don't act. Because if we don't act, our current healthcare system is not sustainable for the next decade. If we do not act, I, for one, who believes that we've got to have a balanced budget and that federal deficits are going to ultimately undermine our economy, if we don't act, the current growth in Medicare and Medicaid and Veterans Health programs alone will explode our deficit. It's not education spending. Lord knows it's not transportation spending at the federal level that's blowing out our federal deficit. It's healthcare spending. If we don't act, healthcare costs for those who are already insured, and I'm going to give up on this before I healthcare costs for those who are already insured, you're going to see your healthcare premiums double over the next 10 years. Mark and I are business guys. I think America needs to stay competitive. If we don't act, America business that now has to pay $7,000 per employee versus our foreign competitors that have to pay $3,000 per employee is not going to be able to compete in the business world, the economic world. So this is as much an economic necessity as it is a moral imperative. And I love some of the shrillness. I was not at the Reston town hall. I'm going to have one of mine next week. I already had one this week on telephone, 4,000 folks. I do love some of the people I've seen on the clips on the TV that keep saying, don't have government in my health care and protect Medicare. Or the failure to people to recognize that we already have a public and a private system. We got to preserve the best of both in our system going forward. But the fact that the 46 million Americans who don't have health care coverage right now, they are government subsidized, because when they show up on the door of a hospital emergency room, and those costs are passed through the system, those costs are passed on to private insurance and government insurance. So this is an issue that the shrillness needs to ratchet down a little bit. And I, again, starting where I started the comments tonight about Senator Kennedy, I can't think of a better legacy than to pass a Kennedy, and I don't mind what other name gets posted behind that Health Reform Act. And this year, it has been a remarkable 8 months. And John, I apologize about going on so long, but one other quick economic comment before we get to the very important subject at hand. And that is, again, many of you here know that I spent 20 years in business before I took the plunge as governor. And I thought I was fairly business savvy, but until I got this job as senator, until I got on the banking committee, until I started being able to sit down with some of the folks to literally peel back the onion on what the kind of abuses that went on in the financial sector, I don't think most of us fully appreciate how close this country, and actually the whole world, came to a complete financial meltdown. That we would be looking at not the worst recession in 50 years, but we would look at a depression that would have had 25% unemployment and a financial system that would have never recovered. So the actions that this president has taken, well, some of them not politically popular. Some of them probably you all don't disagree with them. Lord knows if I was writing them up or you and I were writing them up, we might have changed them a little bit. But if they hadn't acted in terms of shoring up the financial system, if we hadn't acted in terms of the stimulus, I think you would have seen economic circumstances exponentially worse. And I think if they are starting to work. Perfect? No. But if any economic prognosticator had been asked, any of those talking heads on the Wall Street, CNBC, or any of those Wall Street channels would have been asked, would you accept, if they'd been asked in January or even mid-March when the Dow was at 6,500, would you accept an American economy that by Labor Day had the stock market up 50%, banks repaying their TARP funds, and the housing market running 2 months of actually positive gains and stabilizing? You would have been called wildly optimistic. But because of this president and because of some of the tough things that this Congress has had to do, that's where we're at. We're not out of the woods. Unemployment's still too high. But we are, Lord knows, in a much better place because we've got a president that treats us all as adults and talks to us intelligently, that doesn't try to hide the ball in terms of the problems we face, and lays out rational solutions. And that's the most, that's what we should expect from our leaders. And that's why this campaign for John Bell's seat is so important. Because his opponent has been one of the kings of the no caucus in the House of Delegates. We've made great progress in Virginia over the last 8 years, and I will spare you, for those of you who've heard all of my recounting of this, Charlie, you can give it from memory, I know, of all the awards Virginia's won, because we had found that common ground and made the tough choices. But too often the House of Delegates has been the place where good ideas go to die. Transportation solutions, trying to make sure that we've got the right education policies. I love the three folks who are running for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general on the Republican side this time, who are all talking about, especially downstate, they want to increase the governor's opportunity fund so we can bring more jobs to Virginia. Well, heck, it would have been nice for them actually to have voted for those increases each time that I proposed them, and when Tim Kaine proposed them as governor. So in John Bell, we've got somebody who I know many of you got to know during the Obama campaign. He served our country in the Air Force. He understands the challenges of small business. He understands what it's going to take to win in the 52nd District, a district, as I mentioned, that has not had the kind of progressive, forward-looking leadership that it needs. But this also is a year, and I know we've kind of got the hardcore activists here, but the hardcore activists alone isn't going to get this job done. The other side feels like they've got the wind at their back. The other side, because of some of the misinformation that's been put out at the national level and because of general economic uncertainty, is feeling like this is their year. And I was just at an event for Reverend Luke Torian a little bit earlier tonight. Folks were saying, gosh, Senator, we're tired. We worked so hard last year for you and President Obama. We're tired. Well, we can't be tired any longer because if we're not successful, if Creed is not the next governor, if we don't take back these seats in the House, then all of the progress of the last 8 years, all of the common sense progress that has been made by Democrats, independents, and a few right-thinking Republicans could all be reversed.
Wow.
Could all be reversed. So please join me in welcoming the man who this year is going to take out Bob Marshall.
Yeah.
The next delegate in the 52nd District, John Bell.